The dull hum of the baggage carousel echoed through the dimly lit terminal, mingling with the tired shuffling of travelers and the occasional metallic clank of a suitcase hitting the conveyor belt. Airports, with their constant flow of people coming and going, had a strange way of blending chaos with monotony. But tonight, hidden within that rhythm, something sinister lurked. No one noticed when the suitcase first appeared on the carousel, moving slowly as if it were just another piece of lost luggage. It was an unremarkable black suitcase, the kind any traveler might have. Its surface was slightly scuffed, as though it had seen its fair share of travel. The only thing that set it apart, perhaps, was its weight. A bit too heavy, but no one ever stopped to think about that. After all, suitcases are meant to carry things. The man inside, who called himself Dominic, had planned this for months. He had studied the ins and outs of the airport, learning its routines, its security gaps, and the behavior of its staff. Dominic was patient, methodical, and unerringly calm. He knew the right time to sneak in, the right time to hide, and the right time to strike. He'd chosen the luggage claim for its anonymity. Everyone just wanted to grab their bags and leave. No one would notice an extra suitcase among the thousands that passed through daily. Crouched inside, Dominic listened intently to the sounds outside, waiting for the right moment. He had chosen a larger, hard-shell suitcase, modifying it carefully to accommodate himself. The interior was reinforced with padding to silence any movement he made. There were small air holes drilled discreetly near the zipper, ensuring he could breathe without being noticed. The key to his success lay in remaining unseen and blending into the background. And he was very, very good at it. As he waited, Dominic thought back to his first hunt. It had been simpler then, just a secluded parking lot and a lonely traveler. But as time passed, he found that he craved something more elaborate. He wanted the thrill of risk, of being in the middle of a crowd while executing his dark desires. The idea of hiding in plain sight, right under the noses of oblivious strangers, filled him with a sick sense of power. The conveyor belt jerked to life, pulling the first batch of bags forward. Dominic felt a slight shift as his suitcase moved, inching closer to the cluster of travelers. The thrill of anticipation surged through him. He heard snippets of conversations as people waited for their luggage to arrive. "Do you see our bags yet?" a woman asked her husband. "No, not yet. Should be soon," he replied absently, scanning the carousel. The suitcase continued its slow, mechanical journey. Dominic could feel the vibrations beneath him as it traveled along the conveyor. Every second that passed brought him closer to his next victim. He had no control over who would take the suitcase. That was part of the game. He relied on the randomness of the process. The person who grabbed his suitcase would be the unlucky one. And once they took it, he would have all the time in the world. Airports were perfect for this. People often took their bags straight home or to a hotel without checking inside until much later. By then, it would be too late. He could hear footsteps approaching. Someone was near the suitcase now. His heartbeat quickened, though he kept his breathing steady. The zipper was equipped with a small latch on the inside that he could undo quietly. The moment the suitcase was alone, he would make his move. A hand reached out and grabbed the handle. Dominic felt the sudden jolt as the suitcase was lifted from the carousel. Whoever it was, they hadn't noticed the weight. Maybe they were too tired, too distracted, or simply didn't care. The suitcase bumped along the ground as the person walked, and Dominic listened carefully for any clues about his captor. The suitcase was set down with a thud, followed by a muffled voice. It was a woman speaking to someone. "Is this yours?" "It doesn't look like mine," she said. "No, that's not ours," a man replied. "Put it back." The suitcase was dragged back toward the conveyor. Dominic's fingers twitched. He needed to remain calm. If the suitcase was put back, someone else would pick it up soon. He had no doubt. Minutes passed. The carousel continued to rotate, carrying other bags and cases, but Dominic's suitcase remained on the periphery, like an afterthought. Finally, another hand grasped the handle, and the suitcase was lifted again. This time, the steps were faster, more determined. He could hear the squeak of a luggage cart and the sound of wheels gliding over the airport floor. They were leaving. The suitcase was placed inside the trunk of a car. The lid slammed shut, plunging him into silence. Dominic waited, timing each breath. Soon, the car engine rumbled to life, and the vehicle pulled away. The journey was underway. After what felt like an hour, the car stopped. Dominic listened as the trunk opened. The suitcase was pulled out and set down on the ground again, the movement rougher this time. He could hear the jangle of keys and the click of a door unlocking. They were indoors now. The suitcase was rolled across a hard floor, maybe tile or wood. Dominic's pulse quickened. This was it. His moment. The latch beneath his fingers was ready to be released. All he needed was the perfect opportunity. Then he heard a voice. A man speaking to himself or maybe on the phone. "I'll just unpack real quick and meet you downstairs," the man said. "Yeah, don't worry, I'm here. I'll be there soon." The sound of the zipper being pulled open was almost deafening in the silence of the room. Dominic could feel the cool air of the outside world flood into the suitcase. He shifted slightly, preparing to strike. The man was still talking, oblivious, as he bent down to examine the contents. Dominic moved swiftly, his hand shooting out from the darkness. In one fluid motion, he grabbed the man by the throat, pulling him into the suitcase with a sickening, muffled gasp. The phone hit the floor, the call still connected, but no one on the other end could hear what was happening. In a matter of seconds, it was over. Dominic had done this too many times to leave any room for error. He worked quickly, his movements precise and calculated, folding the body into the suitcase with a grotesque efficiency. Once the man was packed inside, Dominic emerged from the suitcase. He glanced around the room, wiping his hands clean as he surveyed his surroundings. A hotel room, perfect. No one would ask questions, not until it was far too late. He zipped up the suitcase, feeling a sense of satisfaction wash over him. The game would continue. Soon, the suitcase would find its way back to the carousel, and once again, someone would take it home. As Dominic left the room, he couldn't help but smile. Airports were always so full of people, always moving, always distracted. And in the middle of it all, he had found the perfect hiding place.